Welcome to 30 Days of Recovery Awareness. My name is Raquel Lopez, and I am so glad that you are here. Today, we are going to be talking about self care and the role that has in sustaining recovery. And if there's any day that I could record live in my PJs, it is today. So make sure you're subscribed at Raquel Lopez to be able to go back and watch the previous episodes along with getting notified for the next 23. So this is a 30-day series, and we'll have 23 more episodes together. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait to continue on this journey of recovery awareness with you. So make sure that you're asking any questions in the chat, or if you're coming back and watching this, you can drop them in the comments. But I would love, love, love to get to know you more. So let me know what your favorite form of self-care is. And as we kind of continue, maybe you'll hear some new ones. I don't know. But last episode, we talked about overcoming guilt and shame in recovery and how that can be a break in the cycle of addiction. So if this is something that, I shared last episode that, guilt and shame is not, isn't exclusive to addiction, right? Guilt and shame are emotions and feelings that I think everyone has had at some point in their life. And so make sure that you're popping back over and checking that out. And like I said, ask me anything, and I would love to chat with you um, anytime. So we're going to dive right into today's day 7, which is the role of self-care in sustaining recovery. So what is self-care? So basically, it is taking intentional action to care for your physical, emotional, and spiritual health. And it definitely can help manage stress and improve mental health and prevent burnout, which can all be triggers for relapse. And so being able to tap into self-care along this recovery journey, it's going to help sustain you as you continue on the road to recovery. So just know that it is something that whether you're on day 1 or day, I don't know, 1001, self-care is something that is important at any point in the journey of recovery. I also know how important it is as far as like the self-respect factor goes, and tapping a little bit into last episode of, that shame, and that shame just means that I'm bad. Not that I did something bad, but I'm bad. And so being able to start transforming our own minds and dealing with some of those feelings of guilt and shame, and coming to a place that we're worthy of self-care and worthy of, forgiveness and worthy of a different life. Because let me tell you, there's a plan and purpose for your life. And I know how hard it is to feel worthy of that sometimes. And so know that you are, take it day by day, one step at a time, and continuing on this journey is going to really help. And shameless plug, next episode, we're going to be talking about resilience, and building resilience. And so that's going to be something also to help sustain your recovery as well. And so just a little plug for next episode. But there are 4 types of, or 4 areas of self-care that we're going to get into today. I'll say tonight because it's evening as I'm recording this, but we're going to get into 4 areas of self-care. The first one we're going to talk about is physical self-care. And so that is exercise, it is sleep, and it is having a balanced nutrition. And those are all areas that are, pretty much in our control as far as doing these things. However, I know how hard it can be to kind of like start the healthy routines and get things going. And I'll talk about a little bit about that in a few minutes. But really being able to prioritize these areas in your life of eating healthy and sleeping and exercise and all of that can really be a big part of that self-care for yourself. And the next one is emotional self-care. So this one goes into practices like journaling and therapy and spending time with loved ones. It can really help as you express emotions by doing those things in lots of different ways, like art or music or just talking with friends. And that can really help with emotions, and that can be a really good form of self care as well. Spiritual self care. So, this is prayer, meditation. You could be spending time in nature, things that help provide that inner peace in your life and a sense of purpose. And those can be really big. It's a really big practice as you get into that part of self care in recovery. It is transforming. I know for me, that has been a big area of transformation in my own life, and one that I knew that I needed if I was going to sustain my own personal recovery. So that's another area. And social self care. So this is social connections and setting aside time to nurture relationships with friends and family and support groups. And so that is a social aspect because addiction can be very isolating. And so being able to practice that social self care and be around other people, nurturing relationships instead of, cutting people off and really like isolating yourself can be a really good type of self-care to focus on as well. And I definitely think a balance of all four of those areas is really going to help you as you continue on this journey of recovery. So one of the things, like I mentioned a little bit ago, is creating that self-care strategy for your daily life. So this is something that isn't always going to come easy, especially if you have been in addiction for a number of years and that's been your quote unquote go-to for self-care. That was my go-to for self-care for a long time. Addiction was my go-to for social. It was my go-to for my emotional care. It was my go-to for my physical care because honestly, when it came to nutrition and dieting and all of those things, I just wouldn't eat and I would drink. And so that was my way of controlling that physical side and caring for my physical self. And then spiritual self. I mean, it wasn't really spiritual, but I was like so far removed from any sort of spiritual care that it was kind of my way of like rebelling almost, like I got this, I'm going to do whatever I want type of situation. And so for so long, that was how I cared for myself. And so it took me a lot of time to get into a self-care routine for me. Now, it started for me when I went to rehab, and rehab was my way of getting out of the consistent negative self care and really stepping into some of those positive self care ways and actions. And so it was literally teaching me how to live again in a healthy way. And so it was, having a scheduled sleep time. It was eating healthy food. It was being around other people. It was having some of those spiritual practices. It was really setting me up for success. And I know that's what I needed. I needed to be in a rehab um, situation when I first got clean and sober. And it was my second. I went twice. So the first time I wasn't really ready. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. And then again when I was 25. But not everyone can do rehab for whatever reason. And so there's lots of different other ways to start your sobriety journey. And so reach out to me and, ask me anything about that. There's outpatient programs, there's self-help groups, there's places in churches. There's so many ways that you can begin that sobriety journey for yourself. And so just reach out to me or Google them in your area. We talked about finding support groups a few episodes back. So go back and, hear a little bit more about that. And you'll see these episodes kind of build on each other. So just know that, yes, each episode is kind of a standalone. It also pulls different topics from previous episodes. So go back and just hear a little bit more about that. So anyways, sidetrack, but creating that self-care routine can really start super simple. And we have to start simple, right? Because we didn't get to where we were overnight, and we're not going to get 100% perfect and doing everything right day one, right? It's going to take some time to learn. And so listening to our body and listening to our minds and, really knowing what is good for us, right? Allowing other people to speak into our lives, praying, prayer and praying and asking God to really open our eyes to what we need are all ways that we can create a self-care routine and really, find those ways and our own body signals and all of those types of things that we need when we need rest, when we need social connection. Like those are all things that our bodies and our minds will tell us. We might resist, but that's why it's so good to be in a group and have people in our lives that have gone through recovery, because they know what to look for, and we can talk to them and hear about what worked for them and try new things. And then it's setting boundaries for self-care. And we talked a little bit about boundaries again a few episodes back, but it's setting boundaries like sleep boundaries, or not overcommitting, which I am super guilty of. All of these things create space for self-care activities. And so when I always like to say, I come on and talk about these things not because I'm perfect and have my life together. Yes, I have 16 years clean and sober. One day at a time, I do that. And it's just what I've done because of the people that have gone before me and have shared what works for them. And so just know that I don't do all of this stuff perfectly, but I put in the effort every single day, and I listen to others' encouragement and advice. And so, like I said, overcommitment and lack of sleep are two areas that I continually have to come back to reevaluate. I have to figure out, what to say yes to, what to say no to, what's going to help me in, my recovery, what's going to hinder my recovery. Sleep, again, another one that is hard for me because I just love to do stuff, which is, something that can get me into some trouble because I like to, do all the things. And so I overcommit to things because I just have fun and I love people. But it is something that I have to, again, continually come back to and give myself breaks, and give myself grace along the way. And as my life changes, again, having to reevaluate all these things, because as a mom now, I do things differently. Self-care is a big one, um, especially as a mom, because we give so much, and as we're working through our own personal recovery and dealing with the things that are emotionally hard and physically hard, we also have to take care of tiny humans, right? We have to be a caregiver for other people. And so, like those kind of emergency situations say, putting your own mask on first before putting on the masks of others can really, really help you along this journey, because you need to be whole and helped before you can help others. And I've seen this happen time and time again. And there's days where I'm like completely depleted and trying to like give out of nothing. And what usually ends up happening to me is I'll get sick. I will get sick and I will be in bed, flat in bed, sleeping for 3 days straight because I haven't listened to my body. I haven't been practicing the overcommitment and scheduling that time. I haven't been doing that. And so God's like, we are going to help you rest because we love you and you need to rest. And so I always end up, having to reevaluate after the fact. And so kind of putting some of those tell signs. I know there's certain things like my purse gets really hectic and out of control. And when that happens, I know that I need to kind of sit and reevaluate things. I haven't been journaling is a tell for me. My schedule is either not filled out or looks like a train wreck. Either one of those ways, if it's not filled out or it's a train wreck, is a tell that I need to reevaluate some things for my own personal self-care. So just know that self-care isn't selfish. It is a way that is for you to really start caring and valuing yourself and filling up and getting filled to be able to pour and to be able to sustain that recovery. So start small and make sure that, again, we're not going to dive in to do everything all at one time. We're going to start small, whether it's, sitting with a cup of coffee, 5 minutes by yourself, then that's it. In the quiet, maybe saying a little prayer. Maybe it's, having some tea and opening a journal and writing some stuff down. It's starting small to be able to build. Maybe it's taking a walk in nature, just going for a walk and just spending some time reflecting. It doesn't have to be anything big. And really, at first, it really shouldn't be. We need to start creating these rhythms of our life small in order to help us sustain them in the future and in the long run, right? So, like I said, just be thinking about one area out of the four that I talked about: physical, emotional, spiritual, or social, that you might want to try practicing self-care first and putting into practice one of the things and one of the self-care types that we talked about, right? And whether it's, getting a healthier meals, or maybe it's adding some prayer time to your morning, or maybe it's phoning a friend every day, or journaling. It's those little things, little wins that create big change. So that is what we are going to be, wrapping up today. But just know, like I said earlier, that we are going to be talking about building resilience next episode. So I hope you come back and hear a little bit more about that and how that can be a help to your recovery. And I'm just excited, like I said, to know and hear how you're doing throughout this process. So feel free to check in with me, shoot me a message, find me on social media. Raquel Lynn Lopez on Facebook and Rocky Lynn Lopez on Instagram, or, leave a comment and let me know just, something that stood out to you, maybe something that you had either never heard of or something that works for you. So have a great day and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.